In politics, especially Middle Eastern politics, anything can happen and there are often surprises, usually nasty ones where Israel is concerned, but sometimes not. For the last few weeks, people have been wondering what Israel was doing about extending its sovereignty to Judea and Samaria. The Trump peace plan endorsed the idea, but nothing much was happening with PM Netanyahu acting very cagily about it. Now we know why. The announcement that Israel and the United Arab Emirates will normalise relations is a seismic shift in the region's politics. For only the third time in modern history, an Arab country has openly agreed to formally make peace with Israel. The arrangement Israel has with both Egypt and Jordan may be something of a cold peace, but nevertheless, it seems to generally work well, despite the hostility of some of their media statements. So let's look at the winners and losers in this latest deal with the United Arab Emirates. Without a doubt, the greatest winner in all this will be Bibi Netanyahu, and history will judge him to be a master of international diplomacy. There are many people both in Israel and the diaspora who despise him, but the fact remains that during his tenure as Israel's leader, he has successfully taken Israel to the world. He refused to let Israel cower in a corner because of some guilt trip about its right to exist, and the resultant hostility from the Palestinians and the anti-Semitic world. Israel has a lot to offer the world, and he told everyone about it, quietly making friends and building alliances along the way, to the point where the world couldn't ignore the benefits of dealing with Israel. The Israelis are big winners here. This also proves that Bibi's announcement to extend Israel's rule over Judea and Samaria was a big enough incentive to prod the UAE into action, and they have said as much. The United Arab Emirates can now boast that this deal has prevented Israel's annexation plan to the benefit of the Palestinians. The Palestinian Arab leadership has never been a partner for peace, but over time the world has slowly woken up to this reality thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, and now we are seeing the fruits of his efforts to spread the truth. Bibi is the ultimate politician, and some reports are saying that he didn't even include Benny Gantz in these negotiations. Oh well, so much for peace and brotherly love within the Israeli government. But then, maybe this was a smart move, as with these types of delicate negotiations, maybe the fewer people who know about it, the better. The other big winner, of course, is President Trump. This is a huge achievement and establishes his credentials as the person who will have brought more stability to the Middle East. He has been right all along. Just look at the violence that didn't erupt, as everybody said it would, when he moved his embassy to Jerusalem and recognised Israel's claim to the Golan Heights. And of course, the United Arab Emirates will gain a lot more than they give with this arrangement in terms of Israeli know-how and credibility. The losers in this deal range from mild to major. The Palestinian Authority is the major loser, as this announcement surely reinforces how irrelevant their cause has become in recent years. It serves them right. You reap what you sow. The Iranians, Russians and Turks are all losers as well, as they can see that their sphere of influence is waning. The so-called settlers are not a uniform movement by any means, and while some may be ruining the stalling of the extension of Israeli rule to Judea and Samaria, Bibi has said that this is not cancelled, just suspended. It is the AGIA's policy that Judea and Samaria are part of Israel proper, and we will be watching what happens here with great interest. But maybe this won't even matter. If peace breaks out with the Gulf states, the Palestinian cause will hopefully fade into history where it belongs, and even without formal annexation, the status quo in Judea and Samaria may work just fine. The left are big losers, which just makes my heart sing. With the Palestinians, the left advocated caving in, as they always do, and proposed offering them everything they wanted, but looking for nothing in return. And they again, the left, have been proven wrong. As Greg Sheridan wrote in The Australian, their worst nightmare is that Trump could be right and Obama wrong. The other big loser is Hamas, but who even cares what they think? Here in the diaspora, we remain very suspicious about what the Arabs do, but Israelis are generally much more inclined to coexist with our cousins in religion, as long as it is in peace. This development could be the start of something big, and the world is indeed a-changing. But in closing, I note that the Australian National Imams Council were less than enthusiastic about the deal in their media statement. Take a look at the AJA's Facebook page to read what they said, and I will have more to say on this and other reactions in the coming days. This is Alan Friedman for the Australian Jewish Association.